Hello everyone, hope you're all doing well. Well, I thought today we could have a chat about why you keep thinking about your ex. And I'm sure you all are interested to know why. And we have addressed this in over 1,500 videos that I have on this channel at the moment. In many other videos, there are a number of videos that addresses this question and many other questions, how to move on from your breakup and all these things, and helps you to understand a little bit more about your psyche, thoughts, consciousness, fear, desire, ego, order, mechanical process, and all these other things that has put you together and to be the person that you are, your consciousness. But among all these 1,500, you will find a number of videos that are addressing this very question. Why you keep thinking about your past, how to delete your memory, and all these things. But today we want to approach it in a different way and perhaps have a little discussion on this same topic in a different angle, and perhaps that would be of interest to you and would be helpful to get you moving on to your life and the opportunities that awaits you, and instead of keep looping into that same question that keep thinking about your ex. So in order to understand why you keep thinking about your ex, we need to examine what thinking is. And these are the things that I've written before when I have a free time and think and ponder and figure out things. And so I'm going to be reading through, because I really don't remember what I've written, let's say 2 months ago or a month ago, and it's now time to make a video out of it. So I will be from time to time looking at my notes and so on. So in order to understand why you keep thinking about your ex, let's first examine what thinking is. Look, if somebody asks you, what is your name? You quickly say your name. In my case, Mehran. In your case, whatever it is. If somebody asks you where you come from, you quickly say the name of the place they come from. So these are not really thinking. These are the available information that instinctively you respond to it because the information is there. It's no thinking involved. But if someone asks you, how long does it take to go from here to Japan? And then tells you that there's this kind of a aircraft with this many engine. This is the engine horsepower, and this is how much fuel is available. But you got to figure out how much you need, because you may not need the whole tank to be full in order to get there as fast as you can. So, and how many passengers and all that. So all that information, now you need to go and figure it out, calculate it based on the information that you have to come up with the answer. That process of figuring it out is thinking. So now that we know what we mean when we say thinking, therefore now let's go on with what we set out to discuss, the topic of why you keep thinking about your ex. So here we go. So when you want an answer, then you will be thinking, and the question is, why do you want to ask this question of why she left me? So when you have a question, then you will be thinking, and the question in this case is, why would you even want to ask the question? Okay, let me elaborate on that. When you want an answer, then you will be thinking, and the question is, why do you want to ask this question of why she left me at all? Why do you want to ask that question? The reason that you want to ask that question, one reason, is because you think that for everything there must be an answer. Everything that happened in life or can happen or is happening, you think for every question, there must be an answer. And this is why thinking in many things does not stop. In other words, since you think that there is an answer to this question or a certain question, as long as you think there's an answer to it, you will not stop thinking, because the mind is programmed to look for answers. That's its job. When you give it a question, it will be like a dog who just sniffed something and is now going to find the source. And it won't stop until it finds the source. The job of the brain is also to find for answers. Look for troubles, find the answers, alert you, and then calculate to come up with solutions. So when you give it a question, then it's going to go and do what it's programmed to do, to find answers. So as long as it thinks, or you think, there is an answer to a question, you won't stop thinking. The mind will be encouraged, and it's got a mandate to keep processing it, figuring it out, because it thinks there's something to figure out. Like the way you were going to travel to Japan and figuring it out, what the answer is. You have to calculate something. So the mind recognizes a question, then it goes to process it and do calculations and makes effort to figure it out. Like when it wants to find out and figure out how long it takes to fly to Japan, which we just talked about, with a certain aircraft. And this is the job, like a dog that we talked about that sniffs something and thinks that its mandate now is to find the source of that smell. So your brain quickly goes and tries to figure out an answer. However, why should there be an answer to this question? To this question of why, thinking about your ex, why she left. Why should there be an answer to this question? It's like asking why someone does not like a melon, or tomato, or peach, or pomegranate, or walnut, meat or vegetable, or whatever. Why should there be an answer that why someone doesn't like something? And even if there is an answer to some of these questions, why should you need to know what that answer or reason is? Why? Why do you need to know that someone doesn't like peach? For example, in this case, why should you know that why your ex left you? Why? Because you think that why, the reason why, is more important than the existence of what you are questioning. We have been conditioned to think that for every why, we have to look for why. We have to look for reason. We have to figure things out as if our life depends on it, as if it's the way to consider that we are alive. We got to look at for why. So actually, we're geared to look for whys. That's why we advance in life. But then we kind of get cross-wired and we think we got to look for why in everything. Not in everything, in the things that perhaps helps our lives and brings more comfort and advancement and so on. Yes, sure, that's the program that we have, to be curious and look for reasons. But we have imported that program into almost every aspect of our life, because we think the why is more important than the actual existence of what it is that we are questioning. Because you think to know why, to know the reason, to know why, will free you from thinking. Look, we didn't cover this part at the beginning of our discussion about thinking. Remember we said, if they ask you your name, you just say what it is. If it's where you come from, you say what it is. No thinking is necessary. But if they ask you how to fly to Japan, then you have to go and figure out, depending on what aircraft, how much fuel and all, how many passengers, so on and so forth. Now, when your mind finds the answer to that question of how long it takes to go to Japan, figures out with the information that it has, then the thinking stops because it has found the answer. Therefore, there's nothing else that is looking for. Like the dog that sniffed something and it's gone now and found where the source of that smell is, then it's not going to run around, move around. It's going to stay there. Just going to wait for you guys to arrive because it's done, it's finished, the job is finished. The thinking is the same. When you figure out the answer to that question of how long it takes to go to Japan, the thinking stops. Or if you went into your mind and tried to figure out and you couldn't figure out, you couldn't work it out, you would then in your mind say, I don't know. The minute you said I don't know, thinking stops. Or if you happen that you are given all this information about how long it takes to go to Japan and all that, but you don't want to find out. And when you don't want to find out, you tell yourself, I don't care, or I don't want to find out. Either if you find the answer, the thinking stops, or if you say, I don't know, because you tried and you couldn't figure it out, you say, I don't know, the thinking stops. Because the mind understands that you just said, I don't know. That's its cue to say, stop processing, stop figuring it out, stop trying. Or in this case, you might say, I don't want to know. Not that you can't figure it out, you just don't want to spend the time and figure it out. In that case also, I don't want to know, your mind stops. Like someone yells out to the dog, you know what I mean, the owner of the dog says, it's okay, come here. Even he hasn't found the source of that smell that he was supposed to hunt, it stops the process, doesn't look for it anymore, comes to the owner, comes to his friend. Because somehow there was a suggestion or there was a signal given to the dog or to the mind to stop the process. So whether you find the answer, that stops the process, or you say, you try and you can't figure it out, but you say, I don't know, that tells the mind to stop. Or you say, I don't care, I don't want to know. The mind stops looking for an answer. Now, in this case, so we say, because you think to know why, to know the reason, will free you from thinking. In other words, to find and figure out the answer, to know the why, that means you figured it out and you found out why she left, you found out what was the problem, and then it's like you solved the problem. You figured out how long it takes to go to Japan. Then thinking stops. So that's why you want to know why, because without you knowing, your mind knows that's the cue where it will stop to be thinking. So you're focused and interested to figure that out. Sorry for the interruption of the noise out there, but it's life. We can't do anything about it. So, because you think to know the reason, to know why, it would be a signal to stop thinking, then you want to know. Because you think to know why will free you from thinking what you are not, it will free you from thinking that you're not free, that you're not good enough. Okay, let me read that again. Because you think to know why will be figuring out the problem, which would lead you to think you are now free from thinking that you are not good enough, as if someone leaves you or has a different interest in something, like in peach, or one doesn't like peach, it's as if it's like if someone leaves you or has a different interest in something else other than what you expect her to prefer, or an interest other than liking you and wanting to be with you, then it would make you to be less than what you think you are. So if someone doesn't like you, that's how you possibly think, or someone doesn't want to be with you, then it makes you feel like, oh, because she doesn't like me, then I'm less than what I think I am. And you think that the fact that she likes something other than you, you think that you're less than what you are, and this will diminish you from your worth and value, which this is how you think, not this is how it is, as if your value is in the hands of some X that you happen to had thought is qualified to be with you. So let me read this again, because I kind of butchered it. So because you think to know why will free you from thinking that you're not good enough, as if someone leaving you or leaves you or has a different interest in something other than what you expect her to prefer, or has an interest other than liking you and wanting to be with you, then it would make you to feel you're less than what you think you are, and will diminish you from your worth and value, as if your value is in the hands of some X that you happen to had thought is qualified to be with you. At one time you thought it's qualified to be with you. Now that she's left, you think, well, your worth and value is in her hand, therefore that all means for some reason you're not good enough. Now you want to find out, what was it? Why am I not good enough? Whatever your ex has chosen, or whomever she or he has left you for, has nothing to do with your importance to the world, and has to do with only with the extent of understanding and ability to recognize quality. In other words, if he or she, whatever your relationship is, has left you, it's not because there's something wrong with you or your value is diminished. It has to do with the fact that that person does not have a full understanding what good quality is, and his or her understanding of value and quality is limited to the point that cannot see a value and quality like yours. Like if somebody goes to a jewelry store and it's got a choice of diamond ring and cubic zirconian ring and glass or crystal ring, and chooses the crystal one or cubic zirconian, that has no effect on the value of the diamond that they didn't choose. It just means that their understanding of worth and value and knowledge of gems is limited to that, to cubic zirconian and crystal that takes their attention. They're unaware and unable, unqualified to have enough knowledge to know the actual real value is in the diamond. They don't have that expertise. So all it does, it's a reflection on them, not a reflection on the diamond. The same thing here, when she leaves you or he leaves you, it doesn't mean that you're devalued. It just means that their ability and understanding, ability to understand, an extent of understanding and ability to recognize quality is limited to that what they are now with or gone with. It didn't extend further to be able to see the quality and value of the person like you. And in such cases, it only means that she was not capable to see the quality you offer, and her lack of appreciation for something good does not make that something good to devalue it just because she did not have the knowledge and good enough taste and sense to appreciate it. But most of us, we turn it around towards ourselves. Say, oh, if she didn't stay with me, that means there's something wrong with you. That means I'm not good enough. Why do you think that way? Why is it not because she couldn't appreciate a high quality person like you? Why is it not because her understanding and her taste and appreciation level is low, is not up to the par, up to the level that you are? Why can't you think that way? Why? Because she represents pleasure. And for you, pleasure is the most important thing in life. Therefore, if that pleasure can be materialized, can be realized through her, then you give her a certain kind of a value and echelon that is not necessarily equal to her reciprocation or her contribution to your life. But because she does have that pleasure part that she can provide for you, you compare her worth and value to the worth and value of the pleasure. Then suddenly you think, oh, I wasn't good enough because the pleasure left you. You don't think about that. A person left you, you think pleasure, as a whole concept of pleasure left you. Then you have no choice but think, well, pleasure is better than me, so there was something wrong with me. I wasn't good enough. Now, again, for example, if someone goes and chooses a Chevy, that doesn't mean that Mercedes-Benz or Lamborghini is devaluated in quality just because she or he chose a Chevy. What does that have to do with the value of these things that she didn't choose? The other reason for this non-stop OCD thinking about the breakup and why she or he left is because you think someone is actually witnessing what you are going through, an illusory entity, and knows that illusory entity knows all there is to know in life, and that someone is your super consciousness that you have created as an entity that is outside of you and is watching whatever you do, say or feel, and you consider that entity as the all-knowing and expect answers to things that you do not know, and explanations about things that you have no idea why it has happened to you, and expect it to answer to you. So you have created some kind of a super consciousness, an entity outside of yourself, and you think that entity is actually observing what you're doing, what you're saying, the judgments that you make, which in fact that entity is created by your own thoughts to judge your actions and your thoughts, which is all your thoughts. So you created a separate a fragment of your thinking to observe your thinking, then you expect answers from that illusory entity for the things that you don't know what they're all about. And you think, because the whole premise is that there are answers to every why. There must be, even though if it's so not important at all, and there cannot be an answer, like someone who likes pomegranates and someone who doesn't. What's the reason for that? There's no reason for it, just the way it is. Since you consider that made-up illusory, that made-up illusory, all-knowing entity to know everything and to enlighten you why she or he left, then you keep waiting and keep asking and keep thinking and keep expecting an epiphany, and for that you keep thinking about the X and why he or she did what he or she did. You keep thinking because you believe there's an answer, and you now have somebody, something, some entity watching what you do, and you have created that thing to be the all-knowing, wise thing, and then you expect that to answer you, so you think you should keep thinking about it. So what do you need to do? If you come to grips that what you expect answer from is a non-existent, made-up entity, and that you actually do not care why, and are interested to move on and build a new relationship to bring balance and happiness in your life, then you will stop thinking as when you say, I don't know, or I do not want to know, then thinking will stop, just like we talked about. Because you think that entity can give you the answer, and you constantly want to get that answer, you forget the fact that you can simply nullify this mandate by simply saying, I don't care to know why, or I don't know why. And that would be the end of the thinking, but you don't, you keep going after it. So, then you'll stop thinking. As when you say, I don't know, or I do not want to know, then the thinking will stop. But as long as you say, why? And I want to know why. And I want to fix things. Then you will constantly think about it, because you're reinforcing the mandate to think about it, to figure out, to continue the process thinking, and expect you will constantly think about it and expect an answer of some kind from somewhere, and that thinking will continue for a long time to come. So unless you click on the switch, that you have the switch to stop the process of thinking, which is either figure out why something happened, or if you think it's a waste of time and there is no answer to it, say, I tried, I can't figure it out, so I don't know. That's a second switch. Figure out, or I don't know, because you tried, you couldn't figure it out. So say, I don't know, that stops. Or say, I don't want to know. I really don't care. When I don't entertain this whole process of figuring out, then also mind sees there's no mandate that stops, like the dog that you just told him, stop looking, come here. That's the end of it. So I hope that was something helpful, and I'm sorry if it took too long to go through my notes, because I have to get familiar with what I wrote, when I wrote, what was I on. So anyhow, so I hope that it was something helpful to you, and I look forward to talking to you again. Be good to yourself, to the others. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.